by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12 pursuant to executive order 2020-04. This public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location for members of the public to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that all members of the committee and select legislative staff have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during the meeting through the Zoom electronic meeting platform. The public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in the meeting by Zoom platform or by telephone. All necessary access information has been made available in the House calendar and through the electronic calendar on the General Court website. The notice of this meeting complies with House rules and RSA 91-A. Anyone who has a problem accessing the meeting shall call 271-3600 or email hcs@leg.state.nh.us. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. I want to introduce the staff that are on the meeting assisting us. Brad Greenland, who's the committee researcher. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by a roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there's anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required. No one. This time the clerk will now call the roll.
Vice Chairman Welch.
Yeah.
Representative Burt.
Mute, Sue.
Yes.
Representative Hopper.
Yes.
Representative Green.
Yeah.
Representative Wallace.
Here.
Representative Testerman.
Here.
Representative True.
Present.
Representative Pratt.
Present.
Representative Marston.
Present.
The clerk is present. Representative Harriet Gathright.
I am present. I am in this room alone, and I can hear everyone.
Representative Pantelakis.
I'm here alone.
Representative Sue Newman.
Yes, present in the room alone.
Representative Bourdonnais.
Present in the room alone.
Representative Muse.
I'm here and alone in my office.
Representative Ray Newman.
I'm here and my wife is in her office.
Representative Bolden.
I'm home, present with family.
Representative Conley.
I'm present. My wife and kids are in the house. They're not in the same room, although they'll probably come through from time to time.
Representative Klein Knight.
I'm alone in the room. I'm present, and a family member may come in once in a while, but alone for now.
Representative Bradley.
I'm here and alone.
Chairman Abbas.
The chair is present.
Mr. Chairman, everybody is present.
Are you all set on SB 40?
I've checked, just checking. I haven't heard back from him.
Mr. Chairman.
This time the chair recognizes Representative Marston to lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America.
to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Representative Bourdonnais.
Yes, sir.
My understanding was that you were in the preparation of a potential amendment for Senate Bill 122.
That's correct. I have had it distributed by the staff person, Bradley.
Is everyone of that Senate bill?
I don't, I got a copy of the bill, but I don't have a copy of the memo.
Is the amendment in the room?
I don't think so.
No.
Nope. All right,
No amendments in the room.
no amendments present. All right. That leaves us with Senate Bill 34. At this time, the chair will now open the executive session on Senate Bill 34. Does anyone wish to make a motion on Senate Bill 34? We'll line up all at once now.
Looking for the bill.
Question for the chair.
You're recognized for a question.
Thank you, Chairman Abbas. Are we allowed to discuss this bill before we make a motion?
If you wish to make a comment, you can be recognized. You were recognized to make a comment on Senate Bill 34.
Who's talking?
I'm recognizing Representative Klein Knight.
Oh,
Oh, no, thank you. I was just wondering if we could have a discussion before we make a motion.
I was recognized to make a motion, so if anyone wishes to discuss any parts of the bill, it deals with synthetic drugs, and the overwhelming majority of synthetic drugs, from what I understand, are manufactured in China. And the biggest problem you have with a synthetic drug, as opposed to a natural one, think of this: cocaine is always cocaine, and it finds it's cut with different substances or products or things are added to it. But ultimately, the main ingredient is always the main ingredient. With synthetic drugs, it's more of a chemical situation. So the problem is, you can define a synthetic drug, but what would happen is, if you change some minor ingredients, it no longer fits the definition, or it's hard to prove it fits the definition of the synthetic drug. My understanding, the intent of Senate Bill 34 is to really tighten up the definition of synthetic drugs, which would make it easier to enforce those laws. Because the burden of proof on the state is very difficult. If you add salt or whatever, you add some parts to it, it can change the whole ingredient. So it would make it easier to prove. So that's really the intent of the bill. I know it obviously passed in the Senate, 'cause it's a Senate bill. I think it passed 23 to 1 from what I checked. And I'm not allowed to make a motion, but if I was, I'm inclined to support it. Representative Rhodes, you recognized?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion ought to pass for House Bill 34.
Second,
You mean Senate Bill 34?
That is exactly what I mean.
And Representative Pantelakis, you wish to second the
yes.
Senate Bill 34? Does anyone wish to discuss Senate Bill 34 any further?
no, go to the vote.
I have one question. I hate to be a pain.
It's Representative Klein Knight, you were recognized for a question.
Thank you. I know one of our questions was, would this affect the private sale for anyone trying to protect like their garden or their farm or anything? I know that was discussed. Does anybody have any more information on that? As I understood it, this bill wouldn't change the right for a consumer to purchase synthetic urine, correct?
My understanding, and it's just me, that under the current law, it is illegal to manufacture, distribute, or in any way use synthetic urine. My understanding that the Senate bill, if passed, although it repeals that section, it would remain, it would all continue to be illegal to manufacture, possess, or otherwise use synthetic urine. And that has been a problem in the past. It's not as widely talked about, but it's often used to manipulate drug tests or try to pass a drug test. So there is a market for it. Representative Hopper, you're recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not all that opposed to the first part of this bill about the trying to clarify what synthetic drugs are, but I am adamantly opposed to lumping bills together by the Senate. I think it denies people, one of the hallmarks of the New Hampshire legislature is access, the ability for anybody to look at a bill and comment or send a letter to the legislator. By lumping bills together, there are bills that are being passed or failed under the wire that the public has no awareness of because it was part of an omnibus bill in the Senate. So I'm going to vote against this on principle.
Thank you, Representative Hopper. Is Senate Bill 34 actually an omnibus bill?
It has two separate bills.
But is it an omnibus bill? I mean,
I guess you can read.
So it's not an omnibus bill. Representative Bright, you were recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if somebody can answer this, but I believe hunters use synthetic urine for hunting purposes. So what will this do?
Well, what you're talking about is not human synthetic urine. So I think what you want to do is look up the definition of synthetic urine. And I think listen, right now, using any substance or any product, if you go to any vitamin store, right, they sell products that if you were to take that product, it would clean out your system to the point that you would at least not test positive for any controlled substance. All right. Now, if you go to the store at the vitamin store or whatever, and you say, I need to buy this because I need to pass a drug test, that's against the law. They actually are not allowed to sell you the material anymore, even though it's legal for the next person behind you to buy it because they're not buying it for that purpose. If the merchant knows what you're going to use it for to manipulate a drug test, it makes it illegal. So most people know how to get around that by not saying that when they go to buy it. But I don't believe using synthetic urine for hunting purposes will be made illegal by this bill. And to the extent that it would, it's already illegal under the current law. It's simply striking a section and replacing it, which seems counterproductive, but that's how it goes written. Representative Wallace, you recognized?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We all know that this is all based upon intent. What's the intent of the legislature? What's the intent of the actor? In no area in this section about the synthetic urine does it say human urine. That detail, I think, is crucial to Representative Bird's question, and seems like a simple enough amendment. It's a little late at this stage of the game, but if we say synthetic human urine, that will protect the hunters, I can believe, because the hunters use synthetic deer urine, fox urine, things like that, to hide the human scent, so you're more effective.
If you look for a chapter, I can imagine there's a definition section.
It's a new chapter.
Well, it's creating a new one, but I think under the existing law, there should be a definition section.
They repealed these sections.
Yes. I don't have my own book to.
Yeah.
While everyone's looking into that, I can imagine a lot of us have some friends that are very knowledgeable with fish and game laws. And someone perhaps to consider reaching out.
Can I ask a
Go to-
question?
Just one moment. If you go to lines 28 to 30 on page. You will know. Page 2, I believe it actually requires it to be from a person. So I would think that would be human urine. That's what I was suggesting was you use the synthetic urine. I guess if you're using it for hunting purposes for any needs, it would be a lawful use. Similar to that of the stuff you buy at a vitamin shop, you can use it to cleanse your system. There's a lot of health benefits to cleansing your system. Provided you're not doing it to manipulate drug or alcohol screening, it's legal. Some people walk in the store and they can't find it, that's how they ask to find it. Hence, they can't get the sale. Same thing here. I suppose if you're buying synthetic urine legally, it would be a crime if you tell the person, I need to use the best drug test. That's my reading of that. Well, it's not defined.
I just read the bill and see if it passes.
So Representative Pantelakis, you're recognized for a question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to state that I believe that if the hunters would be affected by this, they would have come out in force.
Amen.
Representative Pantelakis, that is an excellent point. Representative Klein Knight, you're recognized for a question.
Thank you, Chairman. I think that it's good to question these bills because we've seen a lot of poorly written things come from the Senate recently. So, asking the right questions, it can be better for our people.
Representative Klein Knight, just tread lightly when we're speaking about the other body.
Okay, thank you.
No need to throw comments like that.
Great. Okay, so I disagree with what Representative Pantelakis said then. I'll just leave it at that. The fact that there are hunters, the fact that there are gardeners, there's a lot of people that use this. We didn't get any data that says how many people are using fake urine illegally. I also want to know the sign-in numbers, if Representative Muse can give that to us.
Well, Representative Muse is looking for that. I will tell you that using synthetic urine today is also a crime. So it's not like we're creating a new crime. It's not something that's legal today that becomes legal tomorrow. So I certainly don't think we should be, if we don't pass this bill, we IPL Senate Bill 34, the market for synthetic urine will still be just as illegal today as it is tomorrow.
Are you talking about synthetic human urine or synthetic animal urine? Because that's not clear in this, and that's what people use legally.
Well, what I explained was, if you look on page 2, I provide line numbers, it explains when this would be invoked. Page 2, lines 28 to 30, is if you're using it, it has to do when you're using it to, a human's using synthetic urine to beat a drug test. So if you're selling someone synthetic urine with the knowing that they're going to use it to manipulate the results of a drug test, that is a crime. If you're
I want to know if it's already illegal to manipulate a drug test. I think this is unnecessary.
Well, I may agree with you but what this bill did was strike the existing section and basically cut and paste and re-put the same section back in the wall. I didn't ask the Senate why they chose to do that. But it seemed to be rather circular, but I can imagine it's just, sometimes it's easier to say, if you amend a whole section, sometimes it's easier just to have the whole thing redone. Rather than remodel, they built new. Doesn't mean they don't have anything common from the last house. What's the... For the members participating at home, just a reminder, once the matter is put to question, as soon as I say, the matter will now be put to question. If you are not in your seat, you will not be permitted to vote. If you are participating remotely, if your camera is not on when the matter is put to question, you will be ruled by the chair to not be in your seat. So I do recommend, if possible, that people, the members participating remotely, try to keep their cameras on. I'll try to be mindful to remind everyone, but if I don't, it's what it is.
Sign-ins on SB 34. There were 6 people who signed in support and 2 people who signed in opposition.
Seeing no further hands raised, the matter will now be put right in time, Representative Moore. Seeing no further hands raised, the matter will now be put to question. If you're in favor of the motion of ought to pass, please say yay. If you are opposed, please say nay. The clerk will now call the roll.
Vice Chairman Welch,
Yes.
Representative Burt,
No.
Representative Hopper,
No.
Representative Green,
No.
Representative Wallace,
No.
Representative Testerman,
Yes.
Representative True,
No.
Representative Pratt,
Yes.
Representative Marston.
No.
The clerk votes yes. Representative Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Representative Pantelakis,
Yes.
Representative Sue Newman,
Yes.
Representative Bourdonnais,
Yes.
Representative Muse,
Yes.
Representative Ray Newman,
Yes.
Representative Bolden,
No.
Representative Conley,
Yes.
Representative Klein Knight,
No.
Representative Bradley,
Yes.
Chairman.
Chair votes yes.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 13 yay, 8 nay.
I voted 13 yeas and 8 nays. The motion of ought to pass was passed. Representative Rose, will you be preparing a majority report?
Yes.
Will there be a minority report? Representative Burr, will you be preparing a minority report?
Not on this bill.
No, you know by the end of the day.
And I don't care if it goes on consent.
Okay, cool.
I mean, you know,
This time we'll now close the executive session on Senate Bill 34. Okay, so then. At this time, we'll now open the executive session on Senate Bill 40. There is an amendment that was prepared by Representative Testament. I will hand it out, pass it around. And the chair will, once this amendment's passed around, the chair will recognize Representative Testament to make a motion about the pass and offer an amendment.
It's been emailed.
The members at home, while Representative Testament is graciously handing out the amendment, it's amendment number 2021-1357H. Do the members at home have a copy of that?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, can you tell me the amendment number again, please?
Yes, it's 2021-1357H.
Thank you.
The other, while Representative Testament is so kindly handing that out, also, there was a similar House bill that we passed, that was HB 485. Although I did like that bill better. That bill has been retained by the Senate. So I don't think we should let that necessarily interfere with what we want to do, but it's just to keep that in mind. Anyone wants to look it up. But at this time, the chair will recognize Representative Teston to make a motion ought to pass and offer the amendment.
I'd like to make a ought to pass on Senate Bill 40 with an amendment.
And is that going to be seconded by anyone?
I'll second it for purposes of discussion.
That has been seconded by Representative Wells. Representative Teston, you are recognized to speak on the amendment.
The amendment was one that my chief of police asked me to submit. He agrees with the rest of the bill. He just wants to make sure that if they're walking around the car, let's say, for example, and they happen to see something in the back seat, that they can, conduct a search. And so all he did was add the word solely in the phrase that says cannot be further detained solely for refusing, because if there's something new, that's different. So that's all this amendment does.
And if I recall the testimony correctly, and this concept, whether it's Senate Bill 40, even HB 45, it's new. So there isn't really any case law guidance on how to proceed. Often when you have search and procedure law, it's all been established over generations of case law and up and down the ladder. This is really a new process. So although adding the word solely, I didn't interpret it as a necessary word. It certainly does provide an extra layer of clarification. And the idea from when I spoke with some police officers, the reason why they support adding that language is to avoid potential unnecessary litigation down the line by clarifying. I found it to be clear already. I don't find any problem with overkill here, just to make sure it's certain what the intent of that section is. So if you support the underlying bill, I don't see any problem with the amendment. It's not changing the intent of the bill. It's really not changing how the bill would operate. It's just literally clarifying what it was initially intended to do. Representative Muse, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you. We did hear during the public hearing from the ACLU and also from Attorney Scher, and both objected to the addition of the word solely. The testimony from Attorney Scher was that in his opinion, HB 40 is well worded as it stands. And I think some of the concern was that if you actually add the word solely, refusing to consent to the search itself would provide a reason to detain the person in and of itself. So what it essentially would do is change the meaning of the meaning of the statute, and really it would affect the purpose of the bill.
Representative Testman, you wish to respond to Representative Muse's comment?
Yeah, I have a problem with Bud and the ACLU continuing to victimize or everybody. I do appreciate the fact that they're well versed in everything, but I just disagree with their opinions in some cases.
And just to touch on that, if you go to the underlying bill and you go to first page of the bill, and this is line 12. In line 12, as it says, the operator cannot be further detained for refusing to consent to a search. This says the operator cannot be further detained solely for refusing to consent to a search. So they're saying that I'm reading that to say that if by you refusing to consent. Just like if you refuse to answer a police officer's questions, that in and of itself cannot be used to establish probable cause of detaining for any reason. Now, they're saying they're saying solely for refusing it, it's just emphasizing, if you're just opposing or objecting to being searched for that reason only, the police cannot detain you. This, to me, it actually narrows the scope. But at the same time, this is how the law enforcement, they want it to be as specific as possible so they can comply with it. This is not expanding what they can do, it's actually narrowing it. And considering it's coming from police officers who actually put in this suggestion, it was refreshing to actually have that. But I just, you hear it from coming from police officers, they want to do it right. So I don't think this creates any confusion. I understand that some people were objecting to it in their testimony, saying it was a bad idea. I think if we can see any bill that we can clarify language, we should do that to make sure it's applied correctly, especially when it comes to what law enforcement can and can't do. I support the amendment. I don't think I think the bill. I would support the bill without the amendment, but I don't see the reason for objecting to that language. In my opinion. Representative Harriet Jaffe, you're recognized.
Yes, I remember the testimony well, and I am not for that amendment. And I too felt that the solely does not clarify. It's the verbiage that's on the original bill is clear. It's very clear. So I would not be supporting the amendment.
Representative Newman, you are recognized. Representative Ray Newman, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also agree with what the ranking member just said. I'm wondering about the word solely. Do you need two things to meet the fact that you can't be further charged? I think solely, depending on how you define that word, could make it more confusing. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So it's somewhat of an objective balancing test for when someone can and can't be detained. And what this is saying is you can't take into consideration if all you have, if there's several factors, but if all you have is the fact that the person is objecting to the search, that fact cannot be the only fact that you rely upon to detain the person. Now, by saying the word solely, it's saying that if you only have that, if you get rid of the word solely, it's saying they can be part of other stuff, or perhaps you can rely solely on just the fact the person objected. So again, I don't think it's confusing at all, and I think this provides clarification. And if you heard the testimony, this is what the intent of the bill was, and I think it was great that law enforcement wants that clarified. So that's just me. I don't understand why it would create a difficult understanding by adding that. But I was surprised people objected to it. I think the bill is fine without it as well. So it's not. I would hope that people wouldn't vote against the ought to pass if the amendment fails. Representative Klein Knight, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I would have really liked to see police officers show up and testify that they wanted an amendment like this and speak to all of us and not just one representative, so we could have gotten a more clear understanding of the intent. And I also, again, asked to be treated the same as my colleagues across the aisle. I think that saying I don't trust the organization that made a comment on this and generalizing that they all tend to victimize everybody is way worse than the comment I made earlier. So I just want to point that out. When I say I don't trust a bill because we've been getting a lot of bad, poorly written things, and just because you
Making a point of order, do you want to?
we're in executive session.
I asked the member to suspend for a moment. When we talk about the other body, all right, and if something comes from there that's not written the way we would have written it, and we put an amendment, then there's no need to offer criticism. I addressed that.
The reason not to vote for it. And
Representative Klein Knight, you are not recognized to speak.
It's my right.
Representative Klein Knight, you are not recognized to speak at this time. If this continues, and you know the rules by now, I'm gonna have to ask you to be removed from the room. Well, technically, you're not in the room, but you know what I mean by that. So please, we are not talking over each other. It does not need to be conducted that way. We have a very long day. We have to do all the subcommittee assignments today. We're gonna go through the stuff that's been concurred, whether we want to concur with the Senate or if we want to disagree with that. There's a lot of things we have to do today. And if you just want to keep yelling out of turn, it's gonna be a very long day. And you know the rules of the House by now, and I'm sure I've explained to you enough times that you understand that you can't just yell out of turn. All I'm saying is, and any comments about the other organizations, if I missed that, I accept my apology. I'm not perfect. All right, but we don't need to be doing that, and it's not a healthy way to start the day. So I would ask that we not criticize anyone, period, whether it's an organization, the other body, and that's it. All right, that's my decision. I don't want to talk about it any further. If you bring it up, I'm going to deem you out of order because that's not what you're recognized to do. If you want to provide critiques, I'm sure you'll do it on your Twitter account. If you wish to speak to the amendment, I will recognize you to speak to your amendment, or excuse me, to Representative Testman's amendment. Representative Ray Newman, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with your ruling previously about the Senate and the way that, and I think all should take into consideration that we should not challenge motivation either of other representatives or of organizations. I just think that's inaccurate. And I think that you're right. Sometimes the emotions get to a high pitch in this committee. And I guess that my reading of when the chair says you are out of order or you're not, that the requirement for the individual is to stop speaking until the speaker is finished, and then if they have a comment to that afterwards. That's the way I would consider it should be run. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Ray Newman. I'm fairly confident that is the rule on every committee. And just to clarify, I understand that there was a comment that if this was an amendment that was supported by some members of law enforcement, they should have come in. They did. I believe it was Chief Goldstein who testified in support of this amendment during his testimony. I don't have the right police officer. Please correct me. Representative Testament.
Chief Goldstein is the one who asked for this amendment. He's on the list of attendees now. You can ask him if he did. It's up to you.
Do you remember? Was it?
I don't remember if he testified. I just know that he's the one who asked for this amendment. If anybody has any questions about the police department, he's a very senior, policeman.
Representative Bordnay, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will say that according to my notes, Chief Goldstein did support the idea of adding solely into this bill. However, I cannot support the addition. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Boyer. You were very helpful with that. I was hoping you would be on the same page as me after he, but guess not. Seeing no further hands raised, the matter will now be put to question. As three of you will have your cameras on. So the clerk will now call the roll. If you are in support of adopting.
Did we have a motion?
We did.
Who made the motion?
Representative Testa made the motion and then you seconded it.
All right. Just want to make sure.
See, if you're in support of adopting amendment number 2021-1357, please say yay. If you are opposed, please say nay. The clerk will now call the roll.
Vice Chairman Welch,
Aye.
Representative Burt,
Yes.
Representative Hopper,
Yes.
Representative Green,
Yes.
Representative Wallace,
Yes.
Representative Testerman,
Yes.
Representative True,
Yay.
Representative Pratt,
Yes.
Representative Marston.
Yes.
The clerk votes yes. Representative Harry Gathright,
No.
Representative Pantelakis,
Yes.
Representative Sue Newman,
No.
Representative Bourdonnais,
No.
Representative Muse,
So,
Representative Ray Newman,
No.
Representative Bolden,
No.
Representative Conley,
No.
Representative Klein Knight,
No.
Representative Bradley,
No.
Chairman.
Chair votes yes.
Mr. Chairman, we had 3 members that did not have their cameras on.
For the purpose of the lever of those 3 members, as I said, and I announced this rule at the beginning, those votes should not be counted because they're not considered to be in their seat. Representative True, you've raised the point of order.
And that was my point of order, Mr. Chair, that there were people not in their seat, that everyone was logged in as voting. I believe the procedure is to call the name.
Which they were called.
But a vote should not be recorded for those people who were not in their seat.
Understood. I agree with that 100%. And that would be how the chair would rule if that were to so be challenged.
May I ask a question of the chair?
We're still, let me let the clerk announce the results of the vote, and then you can ask, I'll recognize you to ask a question thereafter.
Mr. Chairman, the vote would then be 11 yay, 7 nay.
By votes of 11 yeas and 7 nays, the motion to adopt amendment 2021-1357H is passed.
Point of order.
Representative Colley, you recognize for point of order.
Who are the members whose votes were just stripped from that tally?
I wouldn't use the word stripped. I don't think any members' votes were stripped. So, but I think you're asking which members' votes are not, because they're not in their seat when the matter was put to question, which I give that warning so often. And I even paused to let everyone go, but we have a lot to do today and trying to keep it moving here.
I respect that, but that was never clarified. We had a vote count that was different from the result that was given. So that's the number I'm after right now.
Well, the rule is, and we've gone through this before, you have to actually, and I can tell you that the members that, actually, I'll have the clerk read it off, but right now, even if the member appears in their seat, even though they're not in their seat when the matter is put to question, the name of the member is still called. So that was we had that incident before where a member was not in their seat. That time the camera was on, but it was just an empty chair on the video, and they came in the middle of the vote. But in that case, there was some issue because that member's name was not called. This time the member's name would still be called, so they're not being stripped. That's how the rule was explained to me by the clerk, and that's the rule that's followed in every committee. If the clerk, can you read the names of the members that were not did not have the cameras on?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Ray Newman, Representative Klein Knight, and Representative Bolden. My understanding is I was told to call the name, so that is what I did.
I understand that to be the correct procedure. Representative Gafford, you're
Point of
recognized.
order, Mr. Chairman. Point
May
of
I
order,
ask a
Mr.
question
Chairman.
of the chair?
Well, there's a point of order in that sense to supersede everything. So Representative Newman, there's a point of order you wish to be recognized for.
Point of order, when you said the word mention, my camera was on and visible, at least on my computer. And was Representative Wallace's name one of the persons? Is that correct or incorrect? I didn't get the three of them.
So Representative Wallace's camera may or may not be on from time to time. It was not Nate Red, but Representative Wallace is physically in the room, and I can see him physically in his chair when the matter is put to question. If you are physically in the room, you have to be in your chair. That's why it's important that members stay in. Something we talked about in this room. Representative Green, you can relate to this. Some people want to change their seats around, and the reason why they were allowed to is that you have to be in your assigned seat when the matter is put to question. This is something we've gone over. That's what was
Mr. Chairman.
Representative Newman. Representative Newman. Excuse me, Representative Ray Newman. That is the ruling of the chair. And that's it. I've made my ruling from what is visible in the room. I recommend that we're in the executive session for everyone to leave their cameras on so there's no misunderstanding. And that is it. And that's the ruling of the chair, and I've already made the ruling. I think I made it twice now. So as you can tell, I'm unlikely to change my mind. So I'm only going to recognize members to discuss whether the motion on the floor, I'm going to recognize Representative Testament to make a motion ought to pass as amended.
Make a motion ought to pass as amended for Senate Bill 40.
And that motion has been seconded by Representative Walls. If a member wishes to speak about motion on the floor, or no, excuse me, that's presented right now, of ought to pass as amended.
Who seconded?
Representative Walls.
Oh, sorry, thank you.
That member will be recognized. Representative True, you're recognized.
Point of information,
Mr. Chairman.
could I have an accurate count of the vote on the amendment?
If I recall correctly, it was a vote by 11-7 in support of adopting the amendment. 11 yeas, 7 nays. Representative Harriet Gaffrey, you are recognized.
I just want you to know that I do object to it, okay? I really feel as though we're kind of like, we're going overboard, Mr. Chair. We really are.
It's Rule 107 of House Rules, and I've emphasized that I don't have much discretion with that. That's what the rule is. If I didn't enforce it and made exceptions, I don't think that would serve us well. I really wish, and I understand that people object. At this point, it passed by 11 yeas. So if we count those 3 votes anyway, it's not going to change the outcome. But I really think this is form over substance at this point. I'm only recognizing people to speak on the motion of ought to pass as amended. All right, the chair's made that ruling. I'm not going to change my rule. I'm not going to overrule myself. I've made it. That's it. So I wish we can move on with what I would say is a bill that HB 45 we passed on consent, and I really hope we pass Senate Bill 40 on consent, with or without said amendments. Representative Pantelakis, you are recognized.
I just want to say, I'm going to vote for the bill, but I think we need to understand that everyone in that room has to be in their seat. So it should be that they have to have their cameras. And I hope we stop this damn argument.
Representative Pantelakis, I'm on your side with that. And I will just say, just for clarification, that not every member in the room has a computer. I don't believe, so that's part of the, I'm just saying that for just so people at home understand that, but.
When we are in session, you have to be in your seat when you take a vote, or it does not count.
Correct.
In that room.
Who beat this to death?
Correct. I agree 100%. Representative Klein Knight, you are recognized.
So I'm allowed to vote on this because my camera's on the overall bill, but even though I wasn't allowed to vote on the amendment, even though when you said 3 people don't have their cameras on, I immediately turned it on. That wasn't a notice to turn my camera on. I'm very confused.
As soon as
because I immediately turned my camera on, and I have a follow-up question before you mute me. If we go back to YouTube and it shows that my camera was on time of vote, are we going to update anything, or like if I have evidence that shows my camera was on?
Want me to explain the rules at this moment in time? That would take about 10 minutes, but I think in what you.
Okay, then just
Representative,
keep going.
I think from what you said, though, you admitted that your camera wasn't on when the matter was put to question. So I think it's pretty clear under the rules. And I will say, I did explain it before we start. So I'm going to move. What I'm going to do at this point, I'm going to move the question. The matter is now be put to question. The motion is ought to pass as amended.
Point of order.
We're in the voting mode. If you are not in support.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a point of order.
We're in the voting mode.
Mr. Chairman, you stated earlier that a point of order supersedes everything else.
You're not recognized to speak at this time, Representative Bolden, and you're out of order. You're in the voting mode. The matter has already been put to question. Now, if you were in support of the motion of ought to pass as amended, please say yay. If you were opposed, please say nay. The clerk will now call the roll.
Vice Chairman Welch,
Yes.
Representative Burt,
Yes.
Representative Hopper,
No.
Representative Green,
Yes.
Representative Wallace,
Yes.
Representative Testerman,
Yes.
Representative True,
Yay?
Representative Pratt,
Yes.
Representative Marston.
Sitting in my chair, yes.
The clerk votes yes. Representative Harriet Gathright,
No.
Representative Pantelakis,
Yes.
Representative Sue Newman,
No.
Representative Bourdonnais,
Yes.
Representative Muse,
Yes.
Oh.
Representative Ray Newman,
Yes.
Representative Bolden,
Yes.
Representative Connolly,
Yes.
Representative Klein Knight,
Yes.
Representative Bradley,
Yes.
Chairman.
Chair votes yes.
Mr. Chair, the vote is 18 yay, 3 nay.
By vote of 18 yeas and 3 nays, the motion ought to pass as amended as passed. I'll move to put that on consent. Is there any objection?
No.
Representative Ray Newman, are you objecting to Senate Bill 40 going on the consent calendar?
No, I'm not.
At this time, we will now close the executive session on Senate Bill 40. Representative Bourdonnais, the you had for Senate Bill 122 has now been distributed. It has not been distributed to members in the room, but we do have a copy of it. What we'll do is, we're not going to go into recess, but I'm going to pass it out.
I'll pass it out.
But I will be recognizing you, Representative Bourdonnais, once we open the hearing.
You need a majority opinion. So it's sort of.
Will there be a majority report for Senate Bill 40? Representative Testman, if you would be doing the honors? Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, 122.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Representative Ray Newman, you're recognized.
yes, I just wanted to indicate, my hand is raised, and that probably is why you asked me if I was opposed, but appropriately, that's what we're supposed to do, is put our hand up in the computer if we are remote. Is that correct?
It is no official rule of that. I will say it is easier for me to realize that someone has their hand raised when they put the little visual hand up, because it's a little blue square, at the top left of your screen. But at the same time, if you're just waving at the screen, I don't always know if you're waving what you're doing. And I might miss it. And it's also easier to sit hand up.
And could I have a follow-up, Mr. Chairman?
Thank you.
Did you say yes?
Representative Ray Newman, you're recognized.
Thank you. One of the problems out here, and this is really intended to lower the temperature to reduce the arguments, is that my confusion earlier was the fact that there are people in the room who they're represented as, from our perspective as being remote, that they are remote. So number one, could you tell us who are the people that are remote on your side? I think all of the Democrats are remote today.
Representative Ray Newman, there are 10 people located in the room.
Okay, thank you.
And when we did the roll call to start the meeting, as we do, I have they call it the chairman's script. I read off a similar piece of paper. It's probably the same script every time. Okay. When people answer, they are present. They say present in the room. So that's how many times we're able to disclose who is present in the room and who's not. If you are present in the room, and this has been the practice of at least this committee the entire time, if I can physically see that you're sitting in your seat, and you have a device, whether if you're in the room, you don't need to have the camera on, so I can see the person in their seat. And that's clarification of how we're going forward. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with the previous word. It was just confusing out here, not knowing that, but I'll pay more when we take.
You could repeat it. So, but at this time, I'm going to open the executive session. We'll open the executive session on Senate Bill 122.
I did.
The chair will recognize Representative Representative Bornay to make a motion about to pass and offer an amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do offer a motion to author pass with an amendment 2021-1308H.
And is there a second to that motion?
Second.
That motion has been seconded by Representative Welch. Representative Bornay, if you wish to speak to the amendment, just to clarify, that's amendment number 2021-1308H.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. We have basically taken most of what is in the original 122 as passed by the Senate, removed section that has to do with HB 123, which passed in the Senate, removed the section that has to do with increased penalties for therapy dogs, and I think that's it. But we have included the section on immunity to punishment for reporting medical needs for by a prostitute. Included the area for including great grandparents as part of the guardianship path, and included the council on for autism spectrum disorder.
Representative Bornay, do you mind if the chair inquires of a question? You passed a similar House bill offering certain types of immunity for situations of human trafficking. Is your amendment, are we passing a repetitive provision?
My understanding is, are you referring to HB 93?
123.
That section was removed from 122.
That was my way of asking, tell me the house phone number. Thank you, Representative Boyd. So just to clarify, what HB 123, which we passed in, that according to the docket, and this is just what the docket says, is on the consent calendar in the Senate. So it looks like that will find its way at least to, in all likelihood, find its way to the governor's desk. So just providing that information. Representative Testament, you recognize?
Yes, I'm confused here. This was, 122 was an omnibus monster. And this amendment, if you take the 6 things that are here, and make sure I understand this correct. I've been checking it, but it left the human trafficking thing, and it left the grandparents thing. Is that true?
Yes.
Representative Boyd, may I recognize you to respond to Representative Keston's question?
Thank you. 1 second. I want to verify it before I continue.
Please take your time, sir.
Yes. So we have left in the section, the part that has to do with human trafficking, the grandparents, our great grandparents, and the Council for Autism Disorder.
Okay. Thank you.
And Representative Boyd, if I may inquire, is this the only amendment that you have prepared?
Yes, it is.
Representative Burt, you're recognized for a question.
When we take the vote, Mr. Chairman, is it going to be ought to pass as amended, or we're doing the amendment and then ought to pass as amended?
It's whether to adopt the amendment.
Okay.
That's right now. So,
all right.
And then the ought to pass as amended. So we're going to go for it.
And if I may ask a question of,
You're recognized to ask a question, me or to Representative Boyd.
all right. So as I'm looking at Senate Bill 122, we left in section 2, 3, and half of 5. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then, so it replaces the rest of the bill.
Yes.
Thank you.
It looks like it did more striking than. Okay. So it's, I don't know if this is an official term, it's less of an omnibus. So I suppose, I will say that it would be very, if we don't pass the amendment, I don't like the idea of passing the bill simply because of HB 123, which I think we, I don't know if that was on consent or I think it was 19-2 in the room. What we recommended here, I would hope that we wouldn't mess that bill up. So. We're going to try this again. Seeing no further hands raised. The map. Representative Newman. Hey, see?
May I ask a question of the chair?
I prefer to move the question. Is it about the underlying bill?
It's about procedure in voting, and it would help me as we're about to vote. So I'd like to be able to ask my question about the procedure.
Well, I'm going to move the question, and then we can. I've witnessed you cast votes in this committee for the entire term, so I think we'll be able to make it through this one. We'll just move the question. So, seeing no further hands raised.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to make a point of order.
Voting mode. The question is whether to adopt Amendment 2021-130H. If you're in support of adopting the amendment, please say yay. If you're opposed, please say nay. The clerk will now call the roll.
Vice Chairman Welch,
Yes.
Representative Burt,
Yes.
Representative Hopper,
Yes.
Representative Green,
Yes.
Representative Wallace,
Yes.
Representative Testerman,
Yes.
Representative True,
Nay.
Representative Pratt.
Nay.
I'm sorry,
No.
Representative Marston.
No, and I'm sitting in my chair.
Clerk votes yes. Representative Harriet Gathright,
Yes. Ah,
Representative Pantelakis,
yes,
Representative O'Hearn. I'm sorry, Representative Sue Newman,
Yes.
Representative Bourdonnais,
Yes.
Representative Muse,
Yes.
Representative Ray Newman,
Yes.
Representative Bolden,
Yes.
Representative Conley,
Yes.
Representative Klein Knight,
Yes.
Representative Bradley,
Yes.
Chairman.
The chair votes yes.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 18 yay, 3 nay.
I voted 18 nays and, excuse me, 18 yeas and 3 nays. The motion to adopt Amendment 2021-130H has passed. Representative Bourdonnais, you wish to be recognized as a motion ought to pass as amended?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do make that.
Sue,
motion.
turn your camera on.
I'll second that.
That motion has been seconded by Representative Welch. Seeing no hands raised, Representative Bourdonnais, if you wish to discuss your motion, I will allow you to do that, but I don't see any hands raised. Representative Rhodes, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, could you please tell me who made the motion and who seconded the motion for ought to pass with amendment?
The motion of ought to pass as amended was made by Representative Bourdonnais, and it was seconded by Representative Welch.
Thank you. Okay. So, Vice Chairman Welch,
Aye.
Before you, I have to actually move, I think I have to move the question.
oh, I'm sorry.
The matter will now be put to question. If you in support of the motion of ought to pass as amended, please say yay. If you are opposed, please say nay. The clerk will now call the roll.
Vice Chairman Welch,
Don't change my mind, yes.
Representative Burt,
No.
Representative Hopper,
No.
Representative Green,
No.
Representative Wallace,
Yes.
Representative Testerman,
Yes.
Representative True,
Nay.
Representative Pratt,
No.
Representative Marston.
No.
The clerk votes yes. Representative Harriet Gathright,
yes.
Representative Pantelakis,
yes,
Representative Sue Newman,
Yes.
Representative Bourdonnais,
Yes.
Representative Muse,
Yes.
Representative Ray Newman,
Hello?
Representative Ray Newman,
He's frozen.
Yes.
Representative Sue Newman.
Yes.
Representative Bolden,
Yes.
Representative Conley,
Yes.
Representative Klein Knight,
Yes.
Representative Bradley,
Yes.
Chairman,
Chair votes yes.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 15 yay, 6 nay.
I voted 15 yeas and 6 nays. The motion of offer pass as amended has passed. Representative Bornay, will you be preparing a majority report?
Yes, here, I will send that to you this afternoon.
Will there be a minority report?
Maybe, if true,
No.
Well, it appears there'll be no minority report. At this time, we will now close the executive session on Senate Bill 122. Before we move on to anything else, there's a few House bills that we have that have passed, but the Senate has made some amendments to. And my understanding is that as the House, we can either concur or we can object. So one of those is House Bill 375. And that bill had to do with the act allowing destruction of valueless contraband by the chief of police in the county sheriff's or we forgot to put the word sheriffs in there, is all what the Senate did. I understood when it said, it said police officers or police department, it included the county sheriffs. Whether I am right or wrong with that, all the Senate amendment did was include sheriffs in that. So if this passed, I believe it passed on consent, this doesn't change, this actually improves the intent of the bill, not harm it. Does anyone on this committee have any objection with allowing the sheriffs to enjoy the same luxury as the state and local police officers when it comes to destroying valueless contraband?
I have no problem with it.
I didn't think there would be a problem, but you never know. So I would encourage us to concur with the Senate on that amendment to House Bill 375.
no.
Another one is Bill 239, an act relative to the prosecution of certain assaults against minors. Another bill that was passed in the House, and I'll tell you right now what that vote was. What they did was what the bill would have done, it was extending the statute of limitation of 6 years within the victim's 18th birthday. The Senate did not agree with the 6 years. They made an amendment to 3 years. And if anyone has any comments on that, I like the 6 years. I certainly wouldn't want to see the bill disappear because it's only 3 years. 3 is better than, it's still an improvement to the existing law. I don't have the rationale for the Senate on why they do not like the 6 years. Representative Ray Newman, you're recognized.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. I have a parliamentary. The Senate changed something in a House bill, and the House bill comes back. I thought that came back to the full House and not to the committee. Is that incorrect?
No, you are correct.
I just wondering what okay.
You asked the question.
I'm just wondering what we're doing here.
We're having a very casual discussion, and the reason why is I like to think that because this bill came out of our committee that we're all familiar with, and there's been some minor changes to some of the provisions. And yes, it goes to the full House, but it's been recommended that you discuss it with the committee, and that's what I'm doing, allowing everyone to voice their opinions on what the Senate has done with their amendments to House bills that we passed. We obviously didn't pass that language. We didn't find that language necessary, but at the same time, I value everyone's opinion equally. So I would appreciate everyone's input who's interested. Representative True, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I remember the bill. At my age, that's a good thing. Remember the bill. And it was something about the 18, up to the age of 18 was something in our bill. Our bill extended to 6 years past 18. Was that our bill?
So the House bill version of the bill sets the statute of limitations for first and second degree assault against minors That's 6 years from the victim's 18th birthday. So while the victim is a minor, the statute of limitations does not begin to run. So once they turn 18, it begins to run. The House bill would have made that a 6-year statute of limitations. Now, well, obviously, we had no problem with that. What the Senate bill did, it limits it to 3 years from the victim's 18th birthday. Representative True, you recognize?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and without knowing the reasons behind the Senate change, I would certainly think that would be a good one to go to a conference.
I agree.
I personally like the 6 years better. I think an 18-year-old to the point they're 21, I mean, we passed laws saying that person can't even buy cigarettes. So I'm just looking at, talk about the maturity of the human brain. We've heard testimony on all these bills about all this stuff. And this is someone who's been a victim of a violent crime, who's a minor. I don't see the harm in making it 6 years instead of 3. Representative Green, you're recognized.
Thank you. What was the vote of the Senate on that?
On the amendment?
Yes.
While you look that up, Representative Bourdais, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can't agree with this change. I prefer that if we do anything, we have a committee of conference and see if we can get the Senate to come to agreement.
Mr. Chairman, it was 24 yes, 0 no.
It's going to be a fun committee of conference. Well, Representative Luce, you recognized.
So I just wanted to remind members of the committee that we've had other bills that we've actually ITL'd because we increased the statute of limitations so long that it created real doubts around whether or not people could be prosecuted, whether witnesses could be found, whether evidence would still would actually still be viable. To me, 6 years seems to be a pretty reasonable measure, especially given the fact of where we are now. And I agree with Representative Bourdais. I'm not inclined to agree to this change.
I thank you, Representative Luce. I love it. I love the unity on this one. So, all right, Representative Ray Newman, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since I was only asking a question before I give you my opinion on this, I agree that it should go to 6 years. Thank you.
All right, what we're going to do now is that it is 10:42. We are going to be in recess to at least 11:45. So for 1 hour.
What?
11:30. If you run late, you run late, but.
Yes, yeah. So hash things out quick.
We'll be at recess to 11:45.
Where do we go?
Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I text Daryl. He said 10 minutes. He said soon. So I said 5:10 and he typed 10. Just so you know. So we're waiting for them.
Okay.
I don't think that's fair to the public or fair to us.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. Because he should have just texted and said, we're going to be out another 15 minutes or so.
Yeah.
You know?
Agreed.
I want everybody to remember this is being recorded.
I'm okay with that. We're not saying
Yeah,
anything that
actually, this is the perfect time for us to have public statements right now. They left the room, they left it recording, the public has total access to what we're saying. And I can go on the record saying I've been muted multiple occasions where it should be fair and open discussions. And even when you don't agree with somebody,
I don't
that's
think
what
it should be a discussion that we should be having right now.
executive session is
We're
meant
not
to.
in executive section right now. We're in a break.
Well, if I'm muted during executive session, I can't do my job that I was voted into office to represent a bunch of people to have that voice. So, I mean, now is a good time to have a platform as any.
I agree. This is not the appropriate platform.
It's now 20 minutes past our recess. Does anybody know when we're going to start?
No, this is ridiculous.
We are now 30 minutes past recess. What happens if we don't get any direction? Do we just wait here until the chair shows up?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep, that's what we do, Nicole.
It looks like they're coming back in.
It looks like he's coming back in, but I saw all of them go over to Bert. I saw David go over to Bert. I saw Green go over to Bert. So I think it has to do with that 141.
Ridiculous. This is
Yeah, the gun bill, taking it out of state police.
I had to miss a doctor's appointment because of this.
Optional if you don't want it. You want to put Brett first?
Can the members at home hear me?
Good enough.
Yes.
You support.
Yes.
Over.
At this time, we will now open the executive session. Good to go? At this time, we will now open the executive session on Senate Bill 141. Which will like to recognize a member to make a motion of any expedient to legislate.
On what? Which one?
Senate Bill 141. Does any member wish to be recognized to make a motion of any expedient to legislate? Representative Testament, you're recognized.
I make a motion to the Bill 141 be
I'll
voted
second.
with the legislature.
Motion of any expedient to legislate Senate Bill 141.
Second.
That motion to any expedient to legislate has been seconded by Representative Pantelakis. I don't want to guess who's playing music.
He's judging.
All right. Does anyone wish to speak to? I'll just open it for discussion. Anyone wishes to speak, please, at this time, please raise your hand. Representative Harper, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be voting against the motion of any expedient to legislate for a few reasons. One, it was clear during the testimony that the state gun line seemed to be getting their act together only because this bill was introduced, which leads me to believe that once this bill is disposed of, they could go right back to what they were doing. It has also been brought to my attention that with new software they're using for the new gun line, it will amount to a de facto gun registration for everybody that buys a handgun in the state of New Hampshire. For these and other reasons, I am going to vote against the motion.
Thank you, Representative Harper. Representative Pantelakis, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe this bill will put a burden on the taxpayers, and I believe the state police, because there's been one little error of what it was, has done a good job since I've been in the legislature. Thank you.
Representative Welch, you are recognized.
Yes, I'm going to vote in favor of ITL because currently State law prohibits firearm sales to individuals under an ex parte domestic violence protective order. That does a lot for the folks who need a protective order. The feds don't get that. They don't have access to that. So I think the gun line protects women in those circumstances. And it's mostly women who get the protective orders.
Representative Burt, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am opposed to the ITL. A yes vote on a motion to ITL is a vote in favor of a wait period for gun buyers. This is an anti-gun vote. We had a tremendous amount of testimony from the gun organizations, gun groups, store owners that were overwhelmingly in the public, that were overwhelmingly in favor of Senate Bill 141. Senate Bill 141 will solve a problem that has festered for decades. So this is not something new. I believe it was since 1999 that the gun line was established. Could have been 98, but I believe 99. They have been okay at times, and other times they've been terrible. I talked to a few people that waited 4 weeks to 8 weeks to get approved to buy a handgun in New Hampshire. And this was only about 8 months ago. Have they improved it? Yes. But there's still a wait period. I am against a wait period. What they're doing now, the state police, is if the gun store calls them, they don't answer their phone. This is what the gun stores are telling me. They're not answering for 1 to 3 hours. Then they'll answer the phone, because they're next in line. So they'll answer the phone. And then what happens is they will do the background within 4 to 10 minutes. All right, but you had to wait the 3 hours or 1 hour to get there. On the denial part, it is easy to fix the denial part if you're denied for a wrong name in another state or even in the same state, or a date of birth is an issue or something, whatever the reason is. You go on their website and you don't have to hire an attorney. I've talked to people that have done this for something small, and they've gone on there and they have fixed it within the time allotted. The biggest thing that I want to make sure everybody understands, a long gun, a rifle, the store calls NICS directly. It's approved or it's disapproved. A handgun, the store calls the state police. The state police, by law, federal law, they have no choice about it. They have to call NICS. Now, when I say call, it's through a computer. So, I'm 60 years old. That's what I'm using is call. But they do it through the computer. They type it up, get it out, and they get a denial or they get an acceptance. The New Hampshire State Police has to follow what they say. Now, what the state police also does for handguns only. So if you want to buy a rifle, you're going to get it in 4 to 6 minutes tops. A handgun, what the state police will also do is if they question the name and say, okay, he got accepted from the feds, so technically they could call the gun store back and say, yes, the guy's accepted. But they don't in some cases. They'll start looking at the local courts. They will fax the old paper way, their local police, and say, hey, we're just wondering, how is this guy? That's a further wait. It's not by law. It's not by statute. They're running rogue over there. They do as they want, and they're not following the law. The law says ABC will disqualify you, or ABC won't disqualify you. They're going beyond that, and they don't need to do that. That's why passing or voting against this ITL and supporting another motion that I would make is the right thing to do, because bottom line, this is an anti-gun bill. What this is it is a vote to support a wait period if this bill goes down. That's all this bill does, is to keep the New Hampshire State Police in line with doing what they're doing, which is causing New Hampshire citizens to have a wait period to purchase their handguns from a FFL licensed dealer in New Hampshire. Now, the other thing too, real quick, is I was told by several gun stores when they had this long wait of the 4 to 8 weeks, and there was only a handful of people that had to wait 6 months, just a handful. But 6 months, can you imagine that? If you wanted a gun and you had to wait 6 months, but most of it was 4 to 8 weeks, and this went on for months. At Shooter's Outpost, he told me personally when I visited that he had over 2,000 guns that were sold sitting in the back room waiting the 4 to 8 weeks to get a background check done through New Hampshire NICS or through New Hampshire State Police. That if he called NICS directly, like a rifle, because some people bought a handgun and a rifle at the same time, they walked out with a rifle. They had to sit and wait and wait and wait. So can you imagine a small store owner with just 10 guns? That's all they got, 10 guns sitting in the back. I don't know what that price would be, $5,000, $8,000 that they're waiting on, just sitting there, that the store can't take that money and pay their employees and the light bill and everything else. So they're stuck. This is wrong. It's anti-business, and it's waiting for it's supporting a wait period. So I hope you vote no, like I'm going to, because this is a wait period. If it's good enough for the rifles to go to NICS straight in the 3 states around us, because a lot of times we've talked, oh, we got to be just like Massachusetts, Vermont, Maine. Well, if we join all of them, 100% of their guns go to NICS, and it's a system that works. Matter of fact, my old state, apparently I didn't buy any guns because it was short-lived during that period of time. I was told in the early 90s, they did go through the their own system like we have, and it was costly. They said, why are we doing this? It's a federal mandate. It's real quick just to go through the feds. We allow rifles like New Hampshire does. Yeah, why don't we allow them to do the pistols too? So that's what they're doing. So the 3 states around us are doing that. So again, this is a wait period motion. So if you support a wait period for gun buyers in New Hampshire, then support the ITL. And I'm not, because I don't support a wait period for the gun buyers. And I definitely support the gun stores to not have to hold a gun for 4 to 8 weeks. Why they're sitting on that money, can't support their store. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I hope everybody does not support the ITL.
Representative Klein, now you are recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to be supporting the ITL because I care more about people's lives than gun owners' businesses.
Chair now recognizes Representative Testament.
Oh, I agree with Representative Byrd when he talks about, we don't need a wait period for the people purchasing a firearm. But I've picked up, and I don't know what the issue is with Shooter's Outpost, because they're a big business. They do an awful lot of cases. But I have a friend who called me and sent me statistics on the delay or delays or how long it takes. He keeps a spreadsheet of every phone call he's made. He works Friday, Saturday, Sunday at a gun store in Amherst. And he has no cases of having to dial numerous times after early April. After early April, his business as usual. I think about this, 5.8 seconds or something like that. From the time he calls till he's got an answer, go ahead and sell the gun or don't sell the gun. Prior to that, he will admit, he was put online, they weren't answering and so on, in March and early April. But after that, it's been cleaned up now. So I'm believing that they can do it. Granted, they know we're looking at them. I have some difficulty with some of the gun groups who support this now and didn't support it later. I also have some difficulty with, I am wavering, but I'm going to vote ITL because we have a company like Microsoft who just signed a contract with the gun line to keep the data on the people. So that said, let's vote.
Seeing no further hands raised, the matter will now be put to question. If you support the motion of inexpedient to legislate, please say yea. If you oppose, please say nay. The clerk will now call the roll.
Vice Chairman Welch,
Aye.
Representative Burt,
No.
Representative Hopper,
No.
Representative Green,
Yes.
Representative Wallace,
Yes.
Representative Testerman,
Yes.
Representative True.
Nay.
I'm sorry,
Nay.
Representative Pratt,
No.
Representative Marston.
Yes.
The clerk votes no. Representative Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Representative Pantelakis,
Yes.
Representative Sue Newman,
Yes.
Representative Bourdonnais,
Yes.
Representative Muse,
Yes.
Representative Ray Newman,
Yes.
Representative Bolden,
Yes.
Representative Conley,
Yes.
Representative Klein Knight,
Yes.
Representative Bradley,
Yes.
Chairman.
Chair votes no.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 15 yea, 6 nay.
By a vote of 15 yeas and 16 nays, the motion to expedient to legislate is passed. Will there be a majority report written by? Right, majority report. Representative Burr, I can imagine you'll be drafting. I'm waiting on your other report.
Report.
Talk about that later.
All right. Yes, it will be a beautiful minority report.
Sure will. This time we're going to close the executive session on Senate Bill 141. We have a list of retaining bills here. And there's going to be subcommittees assigned to these. And we'll go through that process right now. If anyone wishes to volunteer for said subcommittee, it's probably a good idea to raise your hand. So HB 205, relative to incarceration under a suspended sentence, we retained that bill. Representative Conley, I believe you had an amendment for that bill. So that bill, the amendment that you had is actually part of Senate Bill 96, which is not in our committee, it's in the House Judiciary Committee. So although we'll appoint a subcommittee for this, it may be all for nothing, but just let's monitor what happens with Senate Bill 96. Anyone wish to volunteer to be on the subcommittee? I just appoint all of you, which I will do if no one raises their hand. It'll be all 21 members.
I'll volunteer, Chair.
Thank you, Representative. You have been so appointed to the subcommittee on HB 205. You will be joined by Representative Pantelakis.
Can I ask a question to the chair?
Questions?
I can.
You wish to be on the subcommittee too?
No. I just want to know how many people supposed to be on the committee.
From what I understand, it's discretionary. This one, in all honesty, this bill, when we retained it, we actually, had it not left our committee, we would have been reconsidered and passed it. I believe the amendment that Representative Conley had was something that was favorable by the majority, it would have been favored by the majority of the committee. I'm a co-sponsor of the underlying bill. I just think that it's in Senate Bill 96. I don't know what's going to happen to that, but I believe the amendment, whatever subcommittee we have, I think Representative Conley did all the work we need to do. It just, which I thank you for doing, it just, we can't do much on it, but I'm just going to appoint the subcommittee so there's people to monitor what's going on. But I'm not sure the subcommittee will even have to meet. It might work itself out. If everyone's happy with Representative Conley's proposed amendment, then it's all for nothing. So, Representative Welch, do you wish to be on the subcommittee with the chair?
Yes, I'll do it.
All right, that makes 5. Perfect.
So who are the 5 people?
Representative Klein Knight.
Yeah.
Representative Pantelakis. Representative Conley. Representative Welch. And myself.
Okay.
So this is, so in regards to the relative to the legalization and regulation of cannabis and making appropriations therefore, that subcommittee will be the same subcommittee for relative to the home cultivation of cannabis plants in the possession of certain cannabis infused products. Although the appointments will be made separately, it's my intent for those to all be heard together by the same committee. And really, if we're going to put something out there, it should really just be one bill, hopefully capturing positives of, or negative, whatever you guys want to do with it.
Which bills numbers?
So that HB 629, HB 237. And I think we can also put HB 526.
I'd like to be on the committee. I don't want to be the chair. I'd like to be on the committee.
Representative Wallace, do you wish to be on that subcommittee?
Yes.
Representative Conley, do you wish to be on that subcommittee? You are the prime sponsor of 237.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would.
All I did promise Representative True he could be on. I believe Representative True, you are a sponsor of 629?
I can't, remember. I think I co-sponsored one of them.
You co-sponsor 629, so Representative True, you wish to be on that subject.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
In the interest of keeping a healthy bipartisan, is there someone from the other caucus that wishes? Representative Pantelakis, your hand is raised.
Yes, I would go on it, but I want to know how many bills you're combining.
3.
3.
One is
Okay.
cultivation, one has to do with recreational and commercialization, one has to do with penalties.
I don't want anything to do with cannabis.
So I take it you would be upset if you were appointed. Right.
Yes, I would.
I have respect for the dean. I will assure you.
Thank you.
Representative Newman, do you wish to be appointed? Your hand is raised. Well, it doesn't take this long.
Can't hear you.
You're muted, Ray.
I'm trying to get back to my video. I have just one question before I commit to this. How many more, Bill, how many more subcommittees are there going to be? Yeah, how many are you appointing right now? Can you tell us that? I don't want to have to raise my hand for all of them.
Is it difficult? I'm just not going to answer that question. I mean, it's difficult raising your hand. I'm just going to move on.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be glad to be on that committee.
Representative Newman, you are now been appointed. I'll be putting myself in that subcommittee as well. And just so anyone knows, when you have these subcommittees, just because you're not appointed as a member of the subcommittee does not mean you cannot participate or attend the meetings. All right, everyone is welcome to partake. It just, when it comes to the subcommittee making the committee a recommendation, they wouldn't have any vote on that.
Mr. Chair, who's chairing that committee?
I think I would make a great chair of that committee.
You? Okay.
Well, now for HB2, that appointment, by the way, is for 237, 629, and 526. You understand that?
Yes.
Could you repeat that one more time?
526, 237, and 629.
Thank you.
The next one is House Bill 238, prohibiting being provoked based on a victim's actual or perceived gender, gender identity, gender expression, or sexual orientation from being used as a defense in manslaughter. Representative Bradley, you wish to be appointed to that subcommittee. Any members in the room wish to partake? Put your hands up all at once.
I'd like to, Chair.
Representative Burke, you've been appointed to.
I can't serve on that one.
Yes, you can. If you choose not to attend, I can't control that, but you've been appointed.
All right, I won't be attending.
That's nice. It's good for, I appreciate you taking me serious. Representative.
I just want to tell you
Representative
up front.
Testament, do you wish to be appointed?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I would also like to be on that committee.
Representative Hopper.
Sure.
Thank you. Representative Hopper, would you do the honors of chairing that subcommittee? Thank
You
you.
want me to?
Thank you very much. Again, no members, every member can participate, so I would not, it's because you're not officially appointed doesn't mean you can't be involved in the hearings. HB 230, HB 253, requiring law enforcement officers to use body-worn cameras and establishing a grant program to assist local law enforcement agencies to purchase body-worn cameras. Just before we make appointments there, we did pass in HB 2 a provision that would somewhat cover that. Also, HB 96, Senate Bill 96, which is in the House Judiciary Committee, also covers at least the intent of what this bill is. So I would recommend anyone on the subcommittee to keep an eye out on how those will impact what we're doing. Representative Bolden, if I recall, you were a sponsor of HB 253, is that correct?
HB 253.
Yes.
I have to look it up.
You don't remember?
Sorry. No, I don't have all the bills that I've co-sponsored memorized. I'm sorry.
What's the number again?
253.
I am not a co-sponsor.
You're not.
253 is Conley, Manjaputi, Wilhelm, Cushing, LaBranche, Morin are the sponsors.
Representative Conley, there you have it. You have been so appointed. Representative Bolden, do you wish to be appointed as well? You've been so appointed.
Yeah. Good.
Representative Welch, you've been appointed to subcommittee on HB 253, and Representative Welch, you would be chairing that subcommittee as well.
Okay.
Representative Green, you've been so appointed.
Okay.
Representative Pratt.
Oh. I got my hand up if you want.
You have a question?
No. You want me to, or unless he wants to take it, that's fine.
Representative Green and Representative Pratt have been appointed.
All right.
I know you didn't have time for the subcommittee, so I was hesitant to appoint you to another one.
That, yeah, no, I can, yeah.
So I just figured I wouldn't appoint any other ones.
All right, perfect. Sounds good to me.
Is that SB or HB?
HB. Thank you. We're now on HB 408. That's relative to employment restrictions for registered sex offenders. Representative Rhodes, do you wish to be appointed to the committee?
Yes, I would like to be appointed to HB 408.
And for your volunteering, I will appoint you as the chair of that subcommittee. Representative Hopper,
Sure.
you've been appointed.
I just like hanging out with Representative Rhodes, actually, but
Mr. Chairman,
Like Representative Hopper removed from the committee?
no, I just want to make it clear, I've never been the chairman of any committee like this. I'm not sure if I would be better off to be there as a member.
My understanding is that Representative Hopper at one point was a chair of a committee, and I'm sure he would provide wisdom and guidance to make sure that you are okay.
All right.
If he doesn't, please let me know. Representative Bournet, Representative Muse, I don't believe you, have you been appointed to anything, Representative Bournet?
Muted.
Sorry, I will not be appointed to this committee.
You would like to or not like to?
Not.
Love your honesty. I miss you, Representative Bournet. Well, Representative Bornay, it looks looks like no one in your caucus wants to be appointed to the subcommittee, so I'm gonna have to unfortunately make some appointments, so
I don't mind. I can be on that subcommittee.
thank you, Representative Bradley. Representative Bradley,
Given the concerns that I had about this bill, I would be willing to serve as well.
Representative Conley, thank you very much. And Representative Bornay, I'm gonna appoint you to this one as well.
If I must.
Question, Mr. Chair.
You so recognize Representative Ray Newman.
Thank you. How big is this committee going to be?
I'm only making them 5.
Okay, thank you.
So HB 576, that was the bill that we retained and then reconsidered and passed on consent, only to find out by the clerk that we could not have reconsidered the bill. At least that was procedurally improper. Despite that being a tremendous showing of unity amongst the committee, I just don't feel, I feel that we would pass this bill. So when I say that we can probably get away without appointing a subcommittee for this one, we can. What I will do, just to make sure we don't forget about it, because we're all busy, I'm just going to have a 3-person subcommittee be appointed of myself, Representative Welch, and Representative Harry Gafford, just to make sure that we don't forget about the bill, make sure it moves along. But it would have passed on consent out of this committee had that not been a procedural blunder by us collectively. Does that sound good?
Work.
Yeah. But don't be discouraged if we don't actually meet.
Oh, fine with me.
I'll be the chair of that committee. So HB 579 is requiring notice to the public before immigration checkpoints conducted. We recall that was the bill where we heard testimony from an American citizen who for some reason kept getting seized at a immigration checkpoint around the Lincoln area, I think 3 times. Sponsor of the bill had some personal issues, so he was out, at least his family issues. We had the blessing to retain that bill. It will require some work to be done on it because the notice requirement in the bill is mirrored after the drunk driving laws. The notice for a drunk driving checkpoint, which wouldn't work because we're not the ones, the feds are doing the checkpoint in this case. We would have to provide the notice if we're going to participate. So just to keep that in mind. So you may have to buckle down. Would there be anyone wish to be appointed to said subcommittee? Representative Wallace, you've been so appointed.
Sleeping?
Representative Klein Knight,
Yes, I'd like to be in that committee.
Representative Wallace, you'll be appointed chair of that committee. Representative Marston?
Thank you. With all due respect.
Well, I'm trying to share the wealth. I don't believe I've appointed you to a subcommittee yet.
I've been on a committee earlier in the year with Representative Gathright on a bill.
That's true. That is true. You were on a subcommittee already. But that is just one subcommittee. Most people can have more than one. With the exception of, well, we'll put Representative Burt on this one, and I know you're busy, but we'll put Representative Burt on this bill as well.
What's the number?
579. But Representative Marston, you are correct. That you are already appointed to a subcommittee. I'll put Representative Welch as well. Representative Gathright.
Yeah, that's a good one for me.
I'm just asking Representative Gathright, is there a member of your caucus that you wish to volunteer on their behalf?
Don't you already have 5 on there, isn't it?
I have Representative Wallace, Representative Knight, Representative Burton, Representative Welch.
I thought you said Marston.
I did make the appointment of Representative Marston under the belief that he has not been appointed to a subcommittee yet. He so graciously corrected me and is correct. He is actually on a subcommittee already.
All right.
Representative Pantelakis, your hand is raised?
Yes, I'll go on it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Pantelakis.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I have a question about that bill. Is that something that the state can do when it's federal?
So, put me on the spot. For this one. So, we have no control over what the federal officers do. If they want to set up an immigration checkpoint, we can't stop that. Now, what happens is if local law enforcement wishes to participate in that enforcement, there needs to be local laws that need to be complied with. What's happening is apparently, and we heard testimony about this that I found very concerning, that an American citizen, he wasn't born here, but he is just as much of a citizen as anyone else who's an American citizen, keeps getting, they're detained at these checkpoints, which is unfortunate. And what this would do, Bill's trying to make it so that the notice would be publicized. So the dilemma is that we're publicizing a notice for a federal officers doing a immigration checkpoint, but that's because the state officials want to participate. The notice that for a drunk driving checkpoint, you have to go into Superior Court and get the court to approve the notice. And then there's some other parts that go along with it. I didn't think that you could use the same notice procedures. That was my humble opinion. So you really need to come up with a notice procedure. But from what I'm hearing, if that's how the checkpoints are being operated, and you have American citizens being detained at these while they question American citizenship, I don't know.
Thank you.
It's a difficult topic, to say the least. But we can't stop the feds from doing the checkpoint. We don't have to participate, which is my understanding of the Constitution.
Thank you.
Who's gonna be chair? Wallace?
Representative Wallace is the chair. HB 598, relative to a portion of minimum sentence to be served to be eligible for parole. Representative Gathright, I do that.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I knew it. Representative Hughes, you wish to be part of the subcommittee of 598?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Members of my own caucus, don't volunteer all at once now.
I'd like to be on that.
Representative Marston, you've been so appointed to 598.
Fine, I just won't participate.
Very nice.
So I'm being up in front and honest.
Well, you are serving on a subcommittee right now with Representative Gathright, and perhaps if, in the infinite wisdom of scheduling, it may make it easier if these are scheduled the same day. So maybe you guys can kind of do one hearing and the next.
You can appoint me.
Representative Welch. You should be appointed as well.
What's the subject matter of this one?
This has to do with the minimum, sorry. Relative to a portion of a minimum sentence to be served to be eligible for parole.
Okay.
It's the truth in sentencing that the commissioner said that she would be happy to work with us as well with this one, just so you know.
Representative Berg, you've been so appointed as well.
Number
598.
598.
HB 603, relative to manslaughter, the use of deadly force in circumstances involving the sale or use of a controlled drug. So that, listen, that bill, we heard some very compelling testimony. And just what we think about was the person was at someone else's house. They purchased a controlled substance from that person. Due to a reaction from said controlled substance, caused them to go violent. There was a particular medical term for what caused that person to kind of have temporary insanity. Well, the drug dealer apparently murdered the person in their own house. And however, under the current castle doctrine laws or whatever we have in our state, that person was not charged. Something to think about. I know when we think of that, I think of one person has clean hands, but that's what happened. That's what this bill was intended to do. As written, from what I recall, it says if you sell someone a controlled substance and they overdose, you can be charged with manslaughter. So this bill, I would encourage whoever's on this subject to consult with Representative Vincent on the direction they want this to go. Just as a point of clarification. Anyone wish to be appointed to this subcommittee? Remember, if I don't get volunteers, it's gonna be the whole committee.
As long as I'm not chair.
Representative Green.
What's the number?
603.
Thank you.
Easy number to remember. Representative Marston. Representative Fournier.
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure I would like to be on this committee. I really don't see the point of the bill at all.
There's a lot of that going around here. Appointments. I forgot about our good friend, Representative O'Hearn. He's not here. But we'll put Representative O'Hearn on that meeting.
Okay.
Representative Gaffney, I'll leave it to you to deliver the news.
All right.
Question, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Will there be a list put out of the subcommittees and then?
Yes, there will.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Testament. Representative Conley, Representative Conley, did you wish to be on the subcommittee?
Mr. Chairman, can you remind me the bill again? I'm sorry, I lost track.
It was Representative Vincent's bill, and he testified, he wasn't on president, but he did have a police officer with him, and unfortunately, a mother whose son was murdered.
I remember now.
And this, the intent of what was filed, and what I thought the intent was not necessarily in line, but it's very worthy of a discussion. At least I feel so.
You can add me. I agree with Rep. Bourdonnais. I don't know if it's fixable, but it's a concept that's worth discussion. So yes, I'm happy to serve.
Well, it's going to take a lot of work, and
considering I'm on 4 of these, if there's someone else who's willing to do that work, I would be happy to cede that position.
You have your hand raised.
I do.
Representative Bolton does.
Oh.
I can't see.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that if there's any subcommittee that you wanted to add me to, you don't have to ask me. I'm happy to help.
Oh, Representative Bourdonnais, you're off the hook. We will replace you with Representative Bolden. Just a reminder, HB 620, that was requiring law enforcement agencies to gather and analyze certain demographic information. Representative Conley and Representative Gathright, I believe it's Representative Hopper, Marston, and Representative Welch. We've already been appointed to that subcommittee. Representative Gathright, you have been appointed the chair of that committee. Representative Testman, you will chair the 603. And 598, Representative Welch, you chair that one. Banning a life sentence, this is HB 632, banning a life sentence of imprisonment without parole for a juvenile convicted of homicide.
Yes, you can put me in.
I'll be there.
Oh, wow.
I'd like to be in there.
Any room from any members of my caucus to be in there? So, with this one particularly, as written in New Hampshire law, we kind of came to the conclusion it's unconstitutional. I didn't draft an amendment. We had a deadline that I wasn't sure we would be able to vet that by. I will share that amendment with the subcommittee. I don't even care if I get credit for it. But what it needs to do is that our capital murder, RSA 630, does not have the provisions in there regarding juvenile. But we'll talk about that after. But
632?
Representative Gathright,
Yes.
Peter still appointed. Representative Bradley,
Okay, who else?
Representative Welch, Representative Rhodes,
Thank you.
Representative Pratt. Just because you're on a subcommittee doesn't mean you have to support them. You can be against the bill. I don't support the bill as written either. I think there should be circumstances where a juvenile would be entitled, but it can't be mandatory. The Supreme Court ruled on that, or I'll have those for you, or whatever. And that will be chaired by Representative Welch.
What are the members of that?
632, that is Representative Harry Gafford, Representative Bradley, Representative Welch, Representative Rhodes, and Representative Pratt.
Mr. Chair, can we go back to HB 147?
I skip one?
The very first one, 147. Is that the one that you told me I was on before?
Well, we'll do that one right now. Thank you, Representative Gafford. That would be bad if I missed that one. And this should be appointed to HB subcommittee, HB 147. You've been so appointed. Representative Hopper, you've been so appointed as well.
What is it?
It's HB 147, relative to assault against an elderly person.
Getting close to it. Being elderly.
I'm sure you'll be a very positive contributor to the subcommittee.
I hope I am at 60.
Representative Muse?
Yes.
Representative Bourdon?
Yes.
Anyone else? Representative True? Representative True, would you do the honors of chairing that subcommittee? Thank you.
I think I'm missing a name.
Representative Burt, Representative Hopper, Representative Muse, Representative Bourdon, Representative.
Okay. I think it was Bert I was missing.
So the only bill that we have left in committee, please correct me wrong, is Senate Bill 92. What I'm gonna do with that one is, we're gonna hold off on executing that today. We will be meeting again on the 19th.
What days are on?
Yeah.
It's Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Thank you.
Because there is no rush to get here at 9, I will, it has not officially noticed, but plan to be there for 10 o'clock. If that's the only bill, that should be the only bill we have to hear.
10 o'clock.
If anyone has any amendments, whether you remember this committee or not, please don't take your time. Let's get them put out there. Any other questions? Representatives? Hand is raised. Representative Pantelakis?
We do 205. House Bill.
So 205, I think I think I put Representative Conley on that. That's Knight, Conley, Welch, myself.
Oh, you did it. Okay.
And and I think I put yourself on there as well.
Yeah, she's on there.
The issue with that is that Representative Conley already had an amendment drafted that it was my impression would have passed had we voted on it. Unfortunately, we retained it and it was out in nowhere lands. We couldn't get it back, but the amended version passed in the Senate as part of 96, Senate Bill 96. It's unfortunate that bill's not in our committee, so it's, but if it passes on its own, so be it, but that's all we have to do. I mean, I couldn't imagine any changes to the amendment. The amended version passed, Representative Conley has that in his possession, so.
Thank you.
Representative Hopper.
Couple questions. Can you email everybody a list of all the bills? And secondly, subcommittee work, is that gonna be done in person? Because I don't know how by Zoom.
I have no idea. That's for the chair of each subcommittee to figure out.
Right.
What time are we meeting on the 19th?
Most likely 10 o'clock,
Thank you.
but I don't have an official time. All right, thank you. We are adjourned.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. I'm only chairing one, right? I think.
Would you like to chair more?
No, I don't want to. That's why I'm asking. Just 620, is that correct?
Well, the chair of 620. I was retained. I gave you my word that I would appoint the chair of that subcommittee. So I made that appointment way back when we retained it without knowing. I feel like that was months ago. But I made sure you would share that one to keep my word.
I know. And I'm chair 598?
598, Representative Welch is the chair of it.
Okay. I just need to fix my notes. Thank you, Chair. I'm good. I think I captured it all. Thank you.
Thank you. We are adjourned.